Welcome to the Rundown. I'm your host, Philip Dukes, aka DukesTheScoop. Check me out on Twitter and Instagram at DukesTheScoop. And please be sure to hit the like and subscribe button. I am joined by my co-host, my partner, my buddy, Justin Adams of CBS Channel 4 in Denver, Colorado. Justin, what's going on, bro?
Man, we are good, man. It's a beautiful day overall, man. Enjoying myself, and anytime we get a chance to talk some football, man, it's always a good day.
So your boots on the ground in Colorado. What's the
Mhm.
weather like?
So the weather is weird because Colorado. Here's the thing about Colorado: you get 300 days of sun. Like that's the advertisement. That's how it is. But I kind of feel like we're in Seattle, brother. Like
Oh
it's
wow.
been cloudy and rainy all week for some reason. It's just been weird, and so hopefully that clears up. We'll be able to see all that sun, but it's been a weird week to say the least. So hopefully things clear up pretty soon.
Speaking about clearing up, for people who feel like things are dark and cloudy when there isn't any football, things are starting to clear up a little bit. You got the Buffaloes back in
Mhm,
town doing their workouts. You see Coach Swayze doing his thing.
mhm.
Uh, as a former ball player at Colorado, what do you think is the most important thing that these guys can get out of these summer workout sessions?
Camaraderie. Like that's the number one
Mm,
thing. Be able to come together as a team, and it's more important now than ever because of the transfer portal. I
right.
see this a lot when I cover basketball. They actually use in basketball the non-conference schedule to be able to really gel and see what type of team you have for when you go into conference play. Well, now, especially with everything with the college football playoff and football, you want to make sure that you use this time, then your training camp, your fall camp to really come together and then able to play well right out the gate. And for CU, you have a huge game against Georgia Tech. But Georgia Tech's the type of team that's actually really good for the direction that CU is going to go into because you want to find out how your line is. You want to find out if you're dominant up front. You will find out very quickly about Georgia Tech. That is what they will bring to the table. And so you got to be able to go and get everybody together, get everybody in the same point. Find out who your leaders are, right? Your Arden Walkers, your rest of your leaders for the team. You got to find out who those are right now, so that once you do get to fall camp, everything's in place. You're able to go and refine your team as much as possible, and then you off and rolling on first game.
A lot of times you see strength and conditioning coaches, they love the new stuff. They love the Stairmaster. They love all of the machines. They love all of this stuff. When you check out Well Off Media or the Pregame Network or Reach the People Media, you see these guys just hitting stairs in the recruiting ball. I mean, in the football facility, they're just
Yeah.
hitting the regular stairs on the inside. As a former player or as a ball player, period,
Mhm.
what does that do to you? That attitude of get it by any means. When you see guys going to hit the stairs and not having to hit these big elliptical and technical contraptions, getting it the old school way. What does that give you as a team?
Again, it's bringing it together, but on a personal level, it makes me rub my knees because my knees are hurting when I think about all that. Man, brother, let me tell you, Folsom, you've been to Folsom, you know about Folsom. We
Right.
ran the whole stadium, man. I
Wow.
remember going throughout the rows, man, and just going up and down and across and running that. I remember we had one guy where we lunged 150 yards, like we had like 45s on our back, and we did lunges the whole way through, like just you went down the straight, you went across the end zone, and you went back down. There you go, right? So to have um, old school workouts, it's that type of thing where it's like, okay, guys, we're not going to have any contraptions. We're not going to have anything that's just any type of gimmicks over here. This is what we do, and this is what we're about, brother. And that's what I love to see. I just love to see, hey, this is what's proven, and this is what's going to work. Okay, it worked back in the 90s, it's going to work today. It worked back in the 99 and 2000, it's going to work today as well, right? So
Right.
to be able to see these type of workouts, to be able to say, hey guys, you could be able to go work on these stairs right now. It's those reminders to be able to get this team ready to go. Because I'll tell you again, and I'll come back to it, Dukes, they got a huge game and a really tough opponent in Georgia Tech. I mean, this is a team that went to 7 overtimes with Georgia, and I believe that game was on the road too, if I'm not incorrect. So
Yeah.
was that on the road or was that in Georgia? We'll look
Oh,
that back up.
okay. We had to look
But
that one up. Yeah.
but in any
I was at
case,
Georgia.
yeah, it was at Georgia. It was at Georgia. So you're talking about a team that took a team that was in the college football playoff. right, in the SEC championship, I believe, or
Right.
won the SEC, and you're going to face that unit in the first game, you run the stairs, you run the stadiums, you go push the sled, you do whatever you got to do to get your mindset ready because it's going to be a battle when you take on Georgia Tech.
Speaking of the Georgia Tech game, you really don't have, in preparation wise, when we talk about like how Georgia Tech will prepare for Colorado, and we know that Colorado, when you read the tea leaves, you can see that Colorado is heavily invested in the offensive line.
Mm-hmm.
How important is continuity when it comes to offensive line play? Georgia Tech may be looking for, the traditional quarter. Like the film shows that Colorado is going to get rid of the ball fast,
Mm-hmm.
but the additions show Colorado's going to lean on you this year.
Mm-hmm.
How do you make that transition from going to a passing team to a predominantly running team? And is that what you see Colorado's going to do?
100%. Like this is what the team is going to be. And you can actually look at the numbers because the only time that Coach Prime didn't have Shador at quarterback while he was coaching was in the COVID shortened season in 2020. See, a lot of people don't remember that, right? A lot of people don't talk about that shortened season. But when you look at that, what was the team all about? Well, it was a rushing football team. And actually, they rushed for the most yards in the Coach Prime era that year during the shortened season, 169 yards, right? And so when you look at that, and then you take a look at how things have been at the University of Colorado, this team has a rush for more than 70 yards a game. Actually, last year, let me look at the numbers, make sure I got it right. They rushed for 65 yards a game. So think about this: you have a team that won 9 wins that had 9 wins last year, but only rushed for 65 yards. Now you're going to change everything on its head and say we're going to run that football. We're going to come out with 2 tight ends, right? We're going to come out with a tight end, maybe even a fullback. And to be able to go and lean on teams to control the clock, to have a 10 to 14 play drive that ends in the end zone. And it goes to show another thing, too. Your field goal kicker is going to be this much more important because you don't want to have a long drive that ends with a miss, right? You want to make sure that you always put points on the board. And so it's going to be very important this year when you look at the additions that this team has, especially up front, to be able to establish that run and to take it to teams. Remember, CU last year didn't play against BYU, didn't play against Iowa State in the regular season, didn't play against Arizona State in the regular season. Now, they did play BYU in the bowl game, but it's a total different ball game when you're talking about a team in the regular season. They're going to play all those teams this season. So you got to make sure that you are able to go and establish the run first, which would allow you to be able to throw the ball to all those wonderful wide receivers you have.
Speaking of running the ball, when we talk about the running backs that are still in the building at Colorado, your leading rusher, Isaiah Augustov, is gone. Who do you look for to kind of take the mantle or take the lead in that room, and somebody who can take the teachings of a guy like Marshall Faulk to the next level?
Dukes, I got to ask you this question off the top, man. Is Augustov all the way gone? I mean, I know he left, and then he said he wants to come on back, or well, he didn't say he wants to come back yet. But when you kind of leave somewhere and you find out that the grass isn't greener on the other side, is it still possible for our brother to be able to come back home? Like, come on home, man. Come on, Isaiah. Can you still come on home a little bit? You might have to come home on a discount, right? You might have to come home on a Dollar General discount, but can you come on home and still be that running back? What do you think, man?
I'll say this, man. I feel like as long as the exit was respectful, me knowing the people over there in that building, I feel like there's a way to make it work. And I don't know the inner workings, and that's one of those situations I kind of stayed out of because those can be touchy when you talk about how to take care of your family and decisions being based on people outside of you. So there was a lot of that that perception wise you could see, but I wasn't in the rooms. So, but if it's me, I definitely would welcome him back with open arms if the dollar amount NIL wise was right. So there hasn't been a lot of buzz about him right now, and that doesn't mean that things aren't happening just because we don't hear them. Even if somebody like who lives in that recruiting world, whether it be transfer portal or high school recruiting, I live in that world, and being that I haven't heard a ton, it doesn't mean that it's not going on. So if I were to just kind of put a bet on it or say put some odds on it, I would say probably if something hasn't happened yet, probably lesser than more. But if it was me, I would try to figure it out. I
Oh
think
yeah.
he was such a value last year, and I think this year under the teachings of Marshall Faulk, he could be even better. But when you think about the position that Colorado was in, they've got guys. When you
Mhm.
think about guys who didn't get the carries, you can look at it like the center situation. Cash Cleveland wasn't a starter, but he ended up the starter. So
Mhm.
there are guys who are chomping at the bit to get those carries who Colorado feels like, hey, we got to give you the ball. We're going to be all right. Because if that was the case, Augusta would have never left. So of those guys that are
Mm.
still there, is there anybody that you got your eye on that you feel like, you know what, maybe this guy can shoulder a little more of the load?
I think Welch is one of those kids I want to be able to go and see. He
Right.
showed me a lot because with his low center of gravity, he was able to go and break a lot of tackles. I know he dealt with a couple of injuries last year, but I want to see what he could do in the starting role. Like, and when you have those smaller running backs, so they're really hard to be able to see, right? So
Right.
especially when he's shorter, I want to see what he could be able to do with the football next year. That's one guy that I'm really keeping an eye on this season. I don't know about his breakaway speed, but I mean the lower body, man. I mean, look, if you could be able to go and run through some tackles,
Mhm.
especially with the holes that should be open up this year, and you might have the option attack, right? You have a lot of different things you could be able to do. I think that'd be a really good running back there. So that's my guy. Mr. Welch is the one that I'm keeping an eye on this year.
Man, I love that pick, man. Watching Micah in high school down here in Georgia, you just see he's one of those guys that you ever see those guys who once their feet get going, they
Mhm.
hard to stop.
Yeah.
And he's one of the ones that I'll never forget this. One of my roommates back in Auburn, and Brandon Jacobs had just got there, 6'4", 250 pounds. Just
Okay.
got to Auburn. He was a scout team running back for a little while. And I was like, man, how do you hit that guy? And he says, man, you got to get. I said, how do you stop him? And he said, real quick before he gets going. Before he gets going. And I always kept that with me. So a guy like Michael Welch with that center of gravity, you got to stop him before he gets going, because when guys can produce that type of torque or that type of force in such a short area, that means that when they get rolling, they rolling. So I think Michael Welch is one of those guys that if he can, make sure that he knows what to do in the passing game as far as
Mhm.
blocking goes,
Yeah.
and also be an option, because you're being coached by the best all-purpose running back in the history of the game.
Yes.
So
Yes.
being able to be effective in all three phases of running the ball, of being a running back, running the ball, catching the ball, and blocking, that's going to mean that's going to probably be who your guy is. Who's the most effective in all three phases of being a running back? But the
You're
guy that I like a lot,
Go ahead.
a
Go.
ton, real quick, I love what Dallin Hayden showed me in the spring.
Oh, yeah. That's my other one.
When,
That's
when
my
you
other one.
when you talk about being elusive, when you talk about running behind his pass, we all know how important pad level is. Running behind his pass, being elusive, and having that get out. Like, hey, you know what? You give me a crease, I'm gonna hit my head on the goalpost.
Mhm.
He has a little bit of he has some of that to his game. So that's a guy who can also catch the ball. And he has a nasty disposition when he's running the ball. When you saw him in high school playing defensive back, coming downhill, hitting people, I'm like, man, I would love to see him get 25 carries, or not
Mhm.
even 25. That's a little bit we'll call that Ashton Genty range. Maybe
Right.
maybe a cool 15, 16,
Right.
and let him get into the floor of the game. I think he's somebody who I would love to see get that amount of touches.
Did the guys really have a chance this past year to really get into the flow of the game? Because that's one of the things that I really looked at where, and I get it, man. We know we have with Shador. We know we have with the wide receivers. I mean, they're all in the NFL. Literally, all the wide receivers that were starters are in the NFL. What to do. I'm excited to see season is how does things change when they finally get a chance to be able to settle in. They know they're getting the football because I remember against North Dakota State, for example. And so they ran it 3 times and then they had to go a punt, right? And then after that, it was like, okay, we run sparingly, do whatever we could have to do from there. I would just love to see the team to be able to come out and say, we're just going to run the football. We're going to start this with the foot, we're running the ball, or we're going to go into the third quarter, run the football, or we're going to have that 4-minute offense. We're up by a touchdown or we're up by 4. Here's the 4-minute offense. Here's that 5-minute offense. We're going to run the ball down your throat. Use all your timeouts. Have that 2-minute warning go as well. And oh, by the way, we'll nil in this game out because we just won the game. Like, that's what I would love to see from this team this season.
When you think about last year, when teams got ahead of Colorado and they started to run the ball, you look at the BYU game where they gassed you. And then you think about what Colorado was brought back in the transfer portal. You look at Jaheim Otis. But I want to talk about one of the more recent pickups, Sean Myers, linebacker out of North Alabama. This is a guy who's a traditional throwback Mike linebacker who'll come down and hit you. How does a linebacker help you when a team decides they want to run the ball in their 4-minute offense? How does having a traditional Mike in today's game where everybody's this big, fast, damn near safety, how does having a traditional Mike help you in today's game?
It makes you not want to run the football when you get knocked in the head. We saw that last year with the 2 great linebackers that CU had, right? You continue to hit people, and what happens? They don't want to run the football anymore. It's important to have that because you can control the middle of the field. Every time we're going to talk, you're going to hear me talk about the middle of the field because that's the most important real estate in the game of football. If you could be able to control that, generally you'll be able to control the game. With a great middle linebacker, though, he's able to go and diagnose things defensively already, and so help you out on defense and say, hey, okay, they're in whatever pro set they're in or whatever, and now you could go in or whatever formation they're in, and now you could be able to go and make a play. And so that's extremely important, especially in the run game, to be able to go and say, we got this Mike linebacker. We're going to have our big guys up front, take a couple of the linemen, so it can leave him wide open to be able to make a play. But the biggest thing that your linebacker has to be able to do is be a sure tackler. If he's not a sure tackler, then you're going to have a lot of issues. We saw that against Kansas State last year where Giddens was running all over the place, right? We saw that in several other different games too, right? Kansas, for example, being one, right? If you can have your linebackers, though, make sure that they clean things up, be some of the top tacklers on the team, right? Then you can be able to go and force those third down and longs, and you have the Arden Walkers of the world being able to go and get after the quarterback. And don't forget, you were a team that last year led the Big 12 in sacks. So you want to be able to have that, but it all starts with being able to stop the run first.
As someone who's been around the professional game for a while and covered the Broncos among other teams, how important are OTAs? We see what's going on with Shedeur. We see Shedur's killing it right now. Are OTAs really important when it comes down to making the actual roster?
You hear this a lot of times when coaches talk about people that they drafted or people that they bring in, and they will look and say, oh man, maybe we didn't get this right. Because you can find out when somebody get on the field. You don't need to specifically have them in pads to know, oh, they can't play at this level. But you can also find out, oh, this guy can play at this level. Let's see what happens when we put him in pads. Right. And so to see what Shedeur is doing, I don't care if it's 7-on-7, 11-on-11, to see the passes that he's making, the touchdown he continues to throw, even some of the interceptions. I know that he had an interception yesterday where the ball got tipped and it was picked off. It's still those type of plays that he's going to be able to learn. Every rep is an extremely important rep. So when you have a guy in OTAs, it gives you a signal to say, hey, this could be a player that possibly can be able to play in the NFL. For the Broncos, for example, they had a streak, I believe it was 14 out of 15 seasons or something like that, where a player who was undrafted made the 53-man roster. So it just shows that it all starts by you making plays in OTAs, and then once the pads get on, making plays in training camp, and then when preseason happens and the lights are on, then you show that you belong. So it all starts with OTA. So for me, they're extremely important. Anytime you're stepping on the field, it's an opportunity for you to show what you could do and that you could be able to play at this level.
Speaking of OTAs, Jimmy Horn and LeJontay Wester have been killing it so far. When you talk about, I saw one graphic that said LeJontay Wester won OTA Player of the Week or some other sort. That Jimmy Horn has a lot of buzz in Carolina. For those that don't know who these guys are, for somebody who followed the Buffaloes, what do they bring to the table for a professional team?
Quickness, speed, hands, right? Let me tell you one thing about Jimmy Horn, right? Especially from the first year that he was here at CU to where he was last year. I know he had an ankle injury, so wasn't able to play as many games as he wanted to. There were some games that you saw in 2023 where he dropped the ball. You were like, man, he should have had it, dropped the ball, right? Colorado State is one of the biggest examples, right? He dropped a couple of passes. Coach Prime talks to him, gives him his motivational speech, talks about his dad. Hey, your dad's watching you right now. You got family who's watching you. Makes the play to go and top the game, puts it into overtime. And then with LaJohntay Wester, you got a guy there where anytime you have 10 touchdown receptions, I don't care who you are. If you're playing power four, you have 10 touchdown catches, you're doing something right. And it was always interesting. Didn't it feel like every time on third down, he'd find himself open?
Man,
it's like, hey, man, third down. I don't know what it is. Oh, LaJohntay gets the ball again. You just started expecting it. It was like, okay, either Travis gets it. Oh, no, LaJohntay gets it again, right? Like that's begun to be the expectation. And so I think both Baltimore and Carolina have two guys that are going to be fantastic. And I would tell you this, in Carolina, Bryce Young is going to be a very happy man, a very, very happy man having that type of speed that could be able to exploit a lot of different things, especially out the slot. And we know what Jimmy Horn can be able to do once he gets the football and the quickness that he has too. Man, watch out, man. These two young men, they're going to do very well at the next level. And they're around two quarterbacks, one in Lamar Jackson that you know he's Mr. MVP. And then on the other side with Bryce Young, where quiet is kept, this young man actually started to play some really good football at the end of the year. So now you put him with Jimmy Horn, that speed, and then he has some other wide receivers too. Come on, man. Watch out for Carolina this year, man. You know what Baltimore's going to bring to the table. I'm telling you, watch out for Carolina this year.
Speaking of Jimmy Horn and LaJohntay, they provide additional value because of what they do in the special teams game.
Yes.
In the return game. Speaking of special teams, Colorado had some things left to be desired last year. And so now you've got Coach Pollock heading up the special teams. How important is that transition for Coach Pollock to be over the special teams unit in comparison to years past?
Can we just say, number one, praise God that we actually have a special teams coach this year. Okay.
Right.
I was putting applications, man. I was on LinkedIn, man. I was like, look, I got a job, I got a full-time, but that might be the part-time. I'll help you out. Okay. See you. It's great to be able to have that because now you can have some strategy behind your game, right? Like you be able to do different things within the team, whether it's kickoff, right? We know every kickoff from now on needs to be in the end zone. That is, it needs to happen. Okay. But being able to have that, you could be able to now win games with your kicking game. Like you could be able to go and have directional kicks. You could be able to go and go into games where you can look and say, hey, this is what we're going to do against this team in order to give us the upper advantage. I'll give you one example when I played at CU. So I played in 2005 against the University of Miami, and they had a guy by the name of Devin Hester. I don't know if you heard of him before. And I remember Gary Barnett, who was our head coach at the time, does great broadcast now with Mark Johnson. And he pulled our punter aside. I believe it was John Torp at the time. And he said, whatever you do not punt the ball to him. Kick it as far as you can, but kick that thing out of bounds. And we're all like, why? What's the deal? Well, Devin Hester is Devin Hester. That's the reason why. You could be able to have a coach to help you out with different things like that, right? You could be able to load up the line or load up the team to go on one side to be able to go and have great kick coverage. And so those are the different things you could be able to have where you actually have a special teams coach, or you could be able to have a fake. There's going to be a game this year where a fake punt, a fake field goal, something like that is going to be needed for you to be able to go and switch the momentum, for you to be able to go and win a game. Like that's going to happen. So by having an actual special teams coach is going to be an advantage that the Buffs sorely need.
And one thing about the special teams coach, having Coach Pollock as a special teams coach, a former offensive coordinator.
Yes.
Can you imagine the possibilities that you can have in the fake game with somebody who knows who knows offense the way that he does? Man, come on, dog. Like, I can only imagine the possibilities right now. But
bro, can you imagine just the creativity though?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like just the creativity in this area. Like, let's just call it what it is. You don't have the stars you did a year ago. Now, don't get me wrong. We both do agree that from top to bottom, the roster is nice. Like this is
Right,
a
for
nice
sure.
looking roster.
For sure.
But in games that's going to come down to a touchdown or one possession games, and you say, how can you be able to go win these games? Well, by having a special teams coordinator who could be able to go and, draw something up for you, to be able to draw up that fake might be the difference between a W or an L. Or it could be, as we saw last year, the difference between you being in a Big 12 championship game or the difference between you sitting down hoping that Houston can get their act together and score a touchdown against BYU so you go to the Big 12 championship game, right? Like that's the difference.
Man, speaking of Big 12 championship game,
Mhm.
what does Colorado need to do this year to win that game?
They need to win all their conference games at home.
Okay.
Off top. Off top. And they got some good games that's coming, right? Arizona State's coming to the crib. BYU's coming to the crib, right? So you have to be able to win all your conference games at home. And then you need to steal a couple on the road, right? I believe they play Iowa State. CU plays Iowa State this year. So you need to be able to do that. And then win the gimmies. And there are no gimmies in the Big 12, okay? But you need to win the ones that you're supposed to. Like those are the big things. So I would love to see this team, and I go back from the beginning. You have to be able to go and establish the run. If they can establish the run, that will help them out so much to be able to go to other teams and say, we're going to dictate. This is what we're going to do to other teams. We're going to run the football. Like that's the number one thing I would love to be able to see. Number two, as I charge up my laptop, they need to be able to go and do that too, right? To be able to go and be successful by just doing the right things, man. Give me one quick second, bro. Let me go and make sure this thing is on and cracking the way it's supposed to be. Yeah, just to be able to do that. And you know what? And we talked about creativity when we say special teams. Pat Sherman, what are we gonna do? Like what type of creativity you gonna do with your offense now? Right? I mean, you just can't say let's throw the ball all over the place. Are we creative within our running game? Are we creative with getting the ball to our tight end? Right? You got a really nice tight end now. Can you go and get him the football? Like what type of things are we going to do from there? Another thing too, and it's really out of the control of the team, is you have to avoid those major injuries. That's a given for any team.
Right.
But for this team in particular, can you avoid the major injuries and then be able to be as healthy as you can later on in the year to give you that opportunity? At the end of the day, you want that Arizona State game late November to be a game that means a lot, to be a game that could possibly get you to the Big 12 championship game. Like that's the game that you want to go and have a star on to say, hey, before we get to Thanksgiving, this is the one that we have to make sure that we win. So that's what you really want to get yourself to. The Georgia Tech game, that's important. It's nice. But when we talk about getting to the college football playoff, the easiest way to be able to do so is by winning your conference. So you got to take care of business at home. Get a couple of wins on the road. Stay neck and neck wherever you are within the standings and be able to get the job done against the Arizona State of the world.
Man, Justin, man, great stuff. First episode of the rundown,
Yes,
man. I'm excited about where this thing is going. In the meantime, where can everybody find you on social media?
Hey, find me at Justin Adams TV on Instagram, Twitter, man. That's what I'm all about. So Justin Adams TV. Also on CBS Colorado, CBS 4. I'm on the morning show. So, brother, it's going to be early morning, okay? Find me at 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock in the morning. Also the 9 o'clock show at noon. Holy Culture Radio as well, Sirius XM. I'm on the Fix Radio Show. I do a sports and faith report. So, man, I'm all over, brother. But you know what? This is something that I'm really excited about, the rundown, man. We're going to have a lot of fun. We're going to talk football, talk basketball, talk whatever, but always keep you up to date, man, with the Buffs, Auburn, everything we got going on. So, Dukes, man, I'm excited about this, brother. This is something I really, really have been anticipating for a while, man. I know we've been chopping it up, trying to get this rolling. Blessed to get this going finally.
Man, what they say, like they say in the South, baby, God don't make no mistakes. Amen.
Hey, already.
Amen.
Already.
All right, man. Look, man, y'all check us out, man. Probably have a social media coming soon. But in the meantime, make sure you like and subscribe and let us know what you want to see us talk about next week. All right, man. Appreciate y'all. Thank you. Much love.
Salute.